I've just bought this last week in Osaka, Japan, but I couldn't wait any longer to share my thoughts with you. It is just gorgeous inside and out. If you want a vintage watch but worry about it being kind of fragile and just need extra taken care of, take a look at this, the Zenith Chronomaster Original. It is to me the perfect reinterpretation of an original design while equipped with the legendary El Primer movement. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Phil. Welcome back to the channel. So Zenith launched 3 watches back in 1969, the A384, A385 and A386. All of them housed the El Primer movement, one of, if not, the very first automatic chronographs in the world. During the 1960s, it was an industry-wide race for the first automatic chronograph, and along with Zenith, both Seiko and a joint venture between Heuer, Hamilton and Breitling, they all made it right before the end of the decade in 1969. But interestingly, Seiko also launched the world's first quartz movement, which almost completely wiped out this whole Swiss mechanical watch industry in the following decade, and that period of time is now known as Quartz Crisis. Inevitably, Zenith was faced with financial difficulties and had to stop making quartz watches. At that time, a man named Charles Vermeau, head of the watchmaking department, the man who developed the El Primer movement, he believed that this movement needed to be preserved and cannot be replaced by quartz. But of course, during that time, management of the company would not listen to him, so he literally moved every single part that's needed to build the El Primer movement along with a step-by-step guide to the attic of the Zenith factory and sealed it behind the wall. It's like how you place your newborn baby at a safe location during wartime. So the watch I have in hand today is a Zenith Chronomaster Original, a faithful reinterpretation of the A386. The Chronomaster Original line was launched in 2021, including a range of dial and case options. Let's first quickly go through the specs. It has a case diameter of 38mm, 46mm lug-to-lug and 13mm stick, very slim as an automatic chronograph. Water resistant of 50m with a push-pull crown and has lug width of 19mm, a heavily domed sapphire crystal on top of the reverse panda dial, full patina at the applied hour markers except 3, 6 and 9, and they are faceted and rhodium plated to give a nice shine when light hits. This is how it looks on my 6.5-inch wrist. Despite it is 38 in diameter, it feels bigger than that on the wrist. First, because the bezel is very slim and it is within the dial of the watch, which means out of the 38mm in diameter, the dial takes up almost all of it. Here is how it compares with another 38mm watch with an external bezel. As you can see, the dial on the Seiko is noticeably smaller since it has a rotating bezel, whereas the Zenith is all dial, and that's why I find it looks bigger than a 38mm. Second, the lugs on this watch sit slightly higher. They are more like an extension of the dial. There isn't much of a height difference between them. Whereas in most watches, the height of the dial is higher than the lugs. The lugs extend out from the lower portion of the case. So with this watch, you are going to experience the full 46mm of lug-to-lug distance. Though by no means it makes the watch wear uncomfortably since it's only 38mm in diameters, but it does take some getting used to. Especially when you see it from the side, the watch looks very flat like this. But overall it is still very well proportioned and the shape is very true to the original A386. Then is the bracelet. Quality of it is not bad and it tapers nicely at the clasp, but I think it doesn't suit this watch as good as a leather strap. The polished center links are too shiny for my liking. Zenith has a really nice tan leather strap offered to this, but this watch I bought in Japan comes with a bracelet, so I'll have to look into some aftermarket straps. By the way, my mom said the dial looks like a Mickey Mouse because of the overlapping subdials. I didn't realize it until she pointed it out, which is quite interesting. A date window at 4:30, which is true to the original A386. As some of you might know, I like to have a date on my watch, but I usually hate the date window at 4:30. Somehow Zenith managed to blend it in so well with the dial that it's not intrusive at all, and oftentimes I don't even notice the date until I'm looking for it. Around the raised chapter ring and the bezel, they are the 1/10 of a second scale. With a high beat movement, this watch is able to measure up to 1/10 of a second. Many have said it is more of a show-off than an actual function. Not entirely wrong, but I think it is more useful than a tachymeter in these days. So how this works is when you start the chronograph second hand goes faster than an ordinary chronograph. It takes 10 seconds to go for a full round. So for example, when you stop it here, it reads 6.5 seconds. And at 3 o'clock is your 60 seconds register, and at 6 o'clock is the 60 minutes register. Turn around, we have an open case back. Inside is the El Primer caliber 3600. It beats at 36,000 VPH, 5 Hz. You can see the hairspring swinging back and forth much faster. It has 60 hours of power reserve, which is very impressive given its high bit rate. It features a skeletonized winding rotor, so you get a full feel at this living legend. The blue column wheel with a horizontal clutch. It's a joy to watch this chronograph and gauges to work. This reverse panda might not have the tricolor subdials like the original, but I find it to have a more vintage appeal, and that's what this watch is all about. The faux patina and the use of silver against a black dial instead of, say, a pure white, is just right at the sweet spot. It's not overdoing it so that you find it trying too hard to look vintage, but just enough to make such an iconic design to look a little more aged. I really love it. Vintage reissues are always tricky for a brand to do, and Zenith really deserves a lot more credit for what they are doing with the Chronomaster original line. This watch is really close to being perfect for being vintage on the outside and modern on the inside. It genuinely looks like a watch from the 70s, especially with this reverse panda color. If I were to nitpick some negatives about this watch, I think its legibility is not the best, given the hands are kinda blend into the dial, but I believe they were designed this way to stick to the vintage vibe. And the loom is not great. They require quite a lot of sunlight to light them up. But to be honest, they are no issues to me at all. What do you think of this watch? Is it a watch for you? Or do you prefer the original tricolor subdial? Let me know down in the comments. Please like this video if you have enjoyed it. Be sure to check out my other videos and subscribe to the channel for more content to come. I'll catch you on the next one.